All right. Welcome back, football degenerates, to another episode of the Draft Podcast, proudly part of the Gem City Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host, Paul Adamzak. It's March 5th, 2025, 50 days away from the draft. All right. And combine hangover season is officially upon us. The spandex has been shed. Stopwatches are cooling off. If you're new here, buckle up because we're about to carve up the NFL Combine like it's a Thanksgiving turkey, and there's plenty of meat to go around. The Underwear Olympics has wrapped up in Indianapolis, leaving teams, analysts, fans like you and I with plenty to discuss. Every year, this is the main event that serves as a proving ground for prospects, showcasing their athleticism in front of decision makers from all 32 franchises gathered in one spot. And while the on-field drills provide quantifiable data, the Combine is just as much about the narratives that emerge through the interview process. Players exceeding expectations, of which we'll spend a bulk of this episode getting into. Underwhelming performances raising concerns. Teams adjusting their draft boards based on the new information. This year's iteration generated no shortage of headlines. A single drill may have shifted one player's trajectory all the way to the first round, and the ripple effects of that will result, need to be hashed out, I guess, in the coming weeks. As usual, the what we knew Monday, February 24th versus what we know today, Wednesday, March the 5th, the Combine never fails to serve as a reminder of why the draft process remains so captivating. So now with the numbers in, the hay's in the barn, teams are now refining their big boards, reassessing those evaluations, and preparing for pro days and the all-important private workouts. So today, I'll be breaking down the most notable performances from Indianapolis, both positive and negative. We'll go through some key measurables, talk about what they mean in the larger context of a player's projection and evaluation, and then discuss how those results may influence their draft positioning. So let's get into it. This year's Combine winners and losers. And I wanted to start with a category for a man who earned it just one of one. The Combine's top performer, the safety from South Carolina, Nick Emmanwori. If you haven't heard of him, I'm surprised, but I got to tell you about him right now. Combine numbers: 40-yard dash in 4.38 seconds, a 10-yard split of 1.49 seconds. That shows acceleration. That's incredible. His vertical jump went 43 inches and a broad jump of 11'6". Now, if that doesn't mean anything to you right now, kind of listen, pay attention as the show goes on. Those numbers should be eye-popping by show's end. He measured in at 6'3", 220 pounds, did 20 reps of 225 on the bench. Once again, this is a safety. This isn't an offensive lineman. He delivered one of the most impressive performances in Combine history. All right, the only safety on record to run sub 4.4 while clearing 40 inches in the vertical and 11 feet in the broad jump. Okay, just incredible metrics. We're going back to 1982. His relative athletic score, the RAS, we talked about it on episode 7. If you don't know what that is, go back and give that a listen. He scored 10.0. It's perfect. That's as high as you can score. It's the highest ever recorded for a safety. It matches a mark that has stood since 2001. Beyond the testing numbers, Emmanwori was highly productive in college. He finished last season with 88 tackles, 4 interceptions, 2 of them pick sixes. And I think at the end of the day, at the end of the week in Indy, I think he jumped Malachi Starks. I think he's safety number 1. I don't know if he gets picked before him. It remains to be seen. Pro days are coming up. Malachi has a chance to redo what he did at the Combine. We'll get into him in a little bit. But I think right now, as of today, Emmanwori, safety number 1. And I think he's a lock for the first round. I think he was a fringe first-round guy going into Indy. I think he's a lock for the first round right now. Incredible performance. 4.38 at 220 pounds. So that was the Combine's top performer. Who had the top viral moment? Did you see this? Jalen Milroe, Alabama quarterback. Say what you will about the on-field. Didn't test. Did some of the quarterback drills. Didn't throw well. But this was the top viral moment. His hand measurement at the Senior Bowl caused a bit of a stir, caused a bit of a panic when they came in at a paltry 8 3/4 inches when they measure that tip of the thumb to the tip of the pinky, and you kind of stretch it out. All right. 8 3/4 inches is what he measured in Mobile. The threshold essential for NFL quarterbacks is 9 inches. So 8 3/4 is a little bit under that. So somehow, this is why it's viral. Somehow, in 3 weeks since he had to measure to Mobile, his hands grew 5/8 of an inch. So Jalen Milroe's official NFL combine hand size, you can write it in stone, 9 3/8 of an inch. It's done. It's done. So not answered a big question, but kind of checked a big box. It's kind of one of those funny things that people go crazy over, teams go crazy over. My favorite moment from the small hands club, go back to 2020, Joe Burrow, 9-inch hands, smallest of any first round quarterback since 2008. And he kind of like was getting some smoke on social media, and he joked about, I hope I'll be able to grip the ball with my tiny baby hands. So Joe Burrow's done all right. So whatever hand measurement means to you, Jalen Milroe, 9 3/8 of an inch. He's good. All right. So top performer, top viral moment. Let's get into the meat of this episode. I have a long list of winners. I spent way too long going through all the performances, adding guys who I liked, didn't like. So here's my list of winners. I hope that one of your guys is on it. And if they're not, let me know, and I'll do a whole breakdown of your guy. All right. So first one, top of the winners list, not named Nick Emmanwori. Matthew Golden, Texas wide receiver. Ran the 40 in 4.29 seconds, 10-yard split of 1.49. He did not do the vertical. He did not do the broad jump. He did not run a second attempt at the 40-yard dash. He came in, he ran 4.29, and he said, I'm out. I'm good. I ran sub 4.3. I'm going first round, baby. I'm out. I don't blame him. He measured in at 5'11", 191 pounds. That's good. I think he's in the conversation for wide receiver 1. I do. Explosive. That's the word that keeps coming up when watching Matthew Golden's tape. And the 4.29 40 at the combine only reinforced what was already evident. The guy can fly. Not just a straight line burner, fluid mover, sudden acceleration, crisp as a route runner, creates separation at all 3 levels, natural hands catcher who thrives in winning contested balls. I think the production at Texas tells the story. High impact playmaker, 58 receptions, 987 yards, 9 touchdowns in his last season. Consistently put defensive backs in conflict with his ability to win vertically. Do you press him to try to slow him down? Do you back off because he can just fly? It's tough for defensive backs. When targeted, quarterbacks had a passer rating of 120.9. That highlights his efficiency as a receiver. And then you go into the numbers, that 1.49 second 10-yard split. We talked about that. That's the 0 to 60 acceleration. That's the explosive burst off the line of scrimmage. That makes him a threat to stack corners and pull away in an instant. Did that pick up on the mic? Incendiary fast. With Golden, you also get versatility. Lined up both outside and in the slot. He played in the slot 34.5% of his snaps last year, showing that he can be adaptable, used in multiple roles at the next level. His ability to track the deep ball combined with that quick twitch and the separation skills underneath gives you plenty to work with to justify selecting him high. 191 pounds, only 5'11", not the most physically imposing receiver, but I think the frame is solid. I think being 190 plus was a win for him. And the tape shows his play strength allows him to fight through contact and make plays in traffic. So it shows up. It's not something that you have to concern yourself with. I would say he entered the combine as a likely early day 2 guy, but again, 4.29, his performance, specifically that 40 time, cemented him as a first round talent. Complete game breaker with the tools to be an immediate contributor at the NFL level. Big winner at the combine. Another big winner at the combine. One of my guys. I told you in the first episode of this show, I don't want to just talk about the guys that everyone's talking about. I want to get into my guys I'm going to pound the table for. And I talked about him last week as a guy who needed to have a good combine, and I said he needed to run sub 4.55 in order to maintain his ability to get drafted early and play at the next level, and he did. Trey Harris, wide receiver from Ole Miss, he ran 4.54, 10-yard split in 1.56. Great vertical jump at 38.5 inches. He broad jumped 10 feet 5 inches. In the official measurements, came in at 6'2", 205. Maybe a little bit smaller, lighter than I thought he was going to be. But at 205, I understand why he got there. You want to run fast, and he did exactly what he needed to do. A legit 6'2", which you like as an outside, as an X receiver. If you were high on Trey Harris before the combine, nothing about that performance should change your mind. Powerful, physical wide receiver with the size and play strength to win at all levels. He put up dominant production in just 8 games last season, surpassed 1,000 yards. He's a go-to weapon when he's on the field, a true wide receiver 1. He may not be the burner. Like I said, 4.54 in the 40. It's not going to turn heads in a loaded wide receiver class. A lot of fast guys. But that time still lands with the 65th percentile for speed when adjusted for size. What did turn heads was his explosiveness. That 38.5-inch vertical, the 10.5 broad jump, that showcase burst, that shows up on tape. That translates into sudden breaks in the routes and the ability to attack the football in contested situations. Like I said, he did a great job proving what we already see on tape. Not a burner. He wins with craftiness. He's got route running savvy to create separation and a massive catch radius to haul in throws. That's what makes a quarterback's best friend. Just listen, 1, 2, 3, just throw it near Trey. He's coming down with it. That makes him red zone guy. The prowess is a major selling point. Physical at the catch point, fearless in traffic, and like I said, strong through contact. He's a big-bodied wide receiver. At the end of the day, I think he did exactly what he needed to do. He checked the athletic boxes. He reaffirmed his skill set, and I think he remains a likely top 60 pick. Some teams may have him higher. If so, you heard it here first. I think Trey Harris is going to be a stud at the next level. Winner at the Combine. Another winner at the Combine, this time on the defensive side of the ball, the edge from Arkansas. Did you see this? Landon Jackson. Had to do a little tape study on this guy. Didn't know much about Landon. 40-yard dash. I should start with this. 6'6", 264 pounds. Edge is what they list him at. So defensive end, outside linebacker. 40-yard dash at 264 pounds. 4.68. 10-yard split of 1.65. So that's some get up and go for a big guy. Vertical jump of 40.5 inches. That's off the ground. That's more than the guy we just talked about, Trey Harris. Broad jump 10.9. Again, 260 plus. Landon Jackson came into the Combine as a solid day 2 guy from what I read. But after that freakish athletic performance, he's pushing for top 40 consideration. The 40.5-inch vertical and 10.9 broad jump put him in rare company alongside another guy that we talked about last week, another freak, Shamar Stewart, who we'll get into in just a moment. But also guys like Myles Garrett, Mario Williams. Then back that up with that terrific 40-yard dash. And like I said, the 1.64 10-yard split, showing that explosiveness and ability to be more than just a power rusher. Quick first step to try to get to the backfield. On tape, have to go back to the tape. Looks like he plays with a relentless motor. He looks the part in that he has the frame to fit multiple fronts. Checking the numbers, 49 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks in 2004. Those aren't bad numbers by any means, but the raw athletic traits suggest there's some untapped upside. That's what you're looking for, potential. If he's able to clean up the hand usage, could be an NFL starter early on. I think bottom line, Jackson's Combine boosted his stock majorly. Tied for first with Maxwell Harrison. He's no longer just a day 2 guy. He's a legitimate riser with first-round tools. We'll get into Maxwell Harrison as well shortly. But big winner, Landon Jackson, turning heads on the defensive side of the ball at the combine. Going through our list of winners, and before I continue, I need a drink because I'm going fast. There's a lot going on. Because I think this is going to be our best episode yet. I think the more fired up I am writing it, the better the episode's going to be. And this is as fired up as I've been this entire time. So I'm going through winners. Next winner on my list, a guy I talked about last week, was looking to maybe challenge for that Combine 40 record. Really interesting prospect on the defensive side of the ball. Talked about him a little bit already. Got to talk about him some more now. Darian Porter, corner, Iowa State, measured in at 6'3", 195 pounds, 33 1/8 inch arms, long for a corner. 40-yard dash, 4.30, 10-yard split in 1.49. We talked about the legitimate track speed last week. Was a sensational 400-meter guy in high school. Jumped 36.5 inches in the vert. Broad jumped an inch shy of 11 feet at 10 foot 11 inches. Like I said, the length for a corner. Tarek Woolen kept coming up when Darian Porter was on screen. Tarek Woolen somehow fell to the 5th round last year and then turned into an all-rookie player. I don't think the NFL makes that mistake 2 years in a row. 2 most important factors for a corner: speed and length. And Darian Porter checks both those boxes. Again, as we've talked in previous episodes, he's new to the position, was a wide receiver, primarily a special teamer for a couple of years, a very good special teamer, made the switch to cornerback recently and exploded. So a late bloomer. I think he's 24 at this point. So, you know, that is a concern, something GMs are going to look at. Raw is an understatement. I don't think he's a day 1 guy, but I don't think he makes it past day 2. I think the measurables are just too intriguing. I think he's just scratching the surface of his ability. And like I said, Tarek Woolen, whatever the knocks on him last year, Porter just makes too much sense after seeing Woolen's performance to not take a chance on him. So that's corner, one of the major winners. Another major winner, and this guy is in the freakish category. Shamar Stewart, defensive end, Texas A&M. Compared to Landon Jackson earlier, another guy who just like an all-timer at his position at the combine as an athlete. Defensive end, edge, measured at 6'5", 267 pounds, long arms, 34 1/8 inch. Ran the 40, it's again at 267, under 4.6, 4.59, 10-yard split of 1.58 seconds. Jumped 40 inches in the vertical. Broad jump 10 foot, 11 inches. Sub 4.6, an inch shy of 11-foot broad jump. He did hit that 40-inch vertical mark. Plenty of edge tape, a lean 267 pounds. Weight had been a question for him. He had floated up to nearly 290 during the season, but this guy moves. As we've mentioned, not a stat sheet stuffer, just 1.5 sacks last year, but the traits are freaky. And the numbers confirm it now. You could see he was kind of a freak when he moved around. Now we have some confirmation, which is why you love the combine. Explosive off the snap, violent hands, showed it at the Senior Bowl. He dominated pass rush reps. He won 4 out of 5. He had a strip sack in team drills in Mobile. Then you get to the combine. 4.59, 40-inch vert, 11-foot broad, just shy of 11-foot broad. Another guy, RAS of 10.0. Perfect score. He's 1 of 1. He's him. Showed power to collapse the pocket, has the length to disrupt, still very raw as a pass rusher. The toolbox needs work, but that's coaching. What he does well is run defense. That's where he shines now. Stacks and sheds very consistently, makes it look easy. Guy with a high motor, scouting terms, right? Chases plays down, sideline to sideline versatility. Edge guy, can play 5 tech, maybe even slide inside on passing downs. Think Trayvon Walker, who went number 1 a couple of years ago with a higher pass rush upside. I think at this point, he had top 15 buzz pre-combine as just this guy might work out real well. I think at this point, the top 15 buzz is real. And you could see him slide in the top 10. Wouldn't surprise me. And honestly, I don't know if anyone's climbed draft boards faster. Between January 1st and today, March the 5th, Shamar Stewart, the real winner. And definitely one of the winners at the combine. I'm sorry, I talk real fast and then my throat goes crazy. Another winner at the combine in a not great linebacker class. Now there's some starters, there's some players. I think this guy stood out. I hadn't really been looking at many linebackers. Nobody had really jumped out. Saw the performance, went back and watched the tape. I'm going to pound the table for this guy. Jahad Campbell, Alabama linebacker, 6'3", 235 pounds, 32.5-inch arms, 40-yard dash in 4.52 seconds. Once again at 235, 10-yard split of 1.53. I keep saying that 10-yard split. The number you want to hear for the athletic guys, the skill positions, basically anything outside of quarterback, offensive, defensive line is 1.55. Under 1.55, you're moving. That's the 10-yard split is the 0 to 60. How fast do you go from essentially on your feet in one hand to full speed sprint? 1.53 seconds. Under that 1.55. Did it at 235 pounds. Didn't vertical jump at the combine, but he did broad jump 10 feet, 7 inches. That's better than the minimum threshold of 10 feet. So it looked great there. His 40 time was third fastest among all the linebackers. He hit 22 miles an hour, 22.62 miles an hour in that 40. So that is moving for a big guy. He jumped 10.7 in the broad. Freaky athlete, near perfect RAS score, 9.85. Just talked about a guy with a 10, so 9.85 seems kind of average, but like it's not. He's well above average. Led Alabama last season with 119 tackles, had 5 sacks, first team all SEC player, versatile, explosive, third down nightmare, a guy that you can see blitz off the edge or cover with ease, so you never know if he's coming or going. I think the combine drills just confirmed that quickness you saw on tape. We saw aggressiveness. We saw fluid hips in coverage. He's rangy. He's instinctive. Another guy you call a sideline to sideline run stopper, violent hands, high motor. Pass rush skills are raw but promising. Again, the numbers prove that he can do it. Great twitch, length to grow, good arm length. Someone else, not me, has made a Fred Warner comp. I'm not ready to endorse that entirely, but it's my job to bring these things to your attention. He's got experience rotating between Sam, Will, Mike, edge. So he's played a lot of different positions, seen a lot of football. Run defense is his strength. But like I said, he's able to back out and cover. He sheds blocks effortlessly. Post-combine, I think he's the first linebacker off the board. So that's the name I want you to remember, Jahad Campbell. If you're looking for a linebacker, that's your guy. Another winner from this combine, another corner, guy I hadn't paid too much attention to when I heard that the speed probably wouldn't be NFL caliber. Boy, were we all wrong. I say we all. Me. I was wrong. Jahdae Barron. Jim Thorpe winner from Texas, best DB in the country, 6'3", 195 pounds, 33 1/8 inch arms. This is a dude. 40-yard dash, 4.28, 10-yard split of 1.5, vertical jump 39.5, broad jump 10.9, pro ready frame mentality. I mentioned the Jim Thorpe winner. A lot of deserving defensive backs this year. Those guys were right. They picked a hell of a defensive back. Pre-combine, I mentioned his main question mark was the deep speed. But that 4.39 in the 40, which ranked 6th among corners, and that 1.5 second 10-yard split puts him in the 82nd percentile, definitively silenced those doubts. He made some money, I guess is what I'm saying. 4.39, ran sub 4.4. So all I needed to know. Twitchy athlete, great first step, fluid hips, tested like a top-tier cover guy. And then you go back to the tape. Shows a ball hawk. 5 interceptions. Passer rating when targeted, 34.2. Just throw to the other side. High football IQ guy. Diagnoses routes pre-snap. Elite closing burst. You talk about a guy that's versatile, able to lock down on the outside, thrives in the slot, sticks in zone or man. A guy who's a physical tackler, wraps up and run support. Not what you'd call a thumper, but he shows the willingness to tackle. He's a good tackler. Not a great one, but a good one. Hands are active. Disrupts the catch point. Off man is a work in progress. His back pedal can get a little bit choppy, can lose leverage occasionally, but still the motor runs hot. Chases plays sideline to sideline again. He's drawn Brian Branch comps for the instincts and the multi-role fit. Just another guy who you can kind of play. I think that Cooper DeJean role, inside, deep, close to the line of scrimmage. You can blitz him. You can play him on the slot. You can play him on the outside. You can play him over the top. The Steelers, and I'll say this for my Steelers fan friends, the Steelers met him formally, and he screams their type. I think he and Joey Porter Jr. would be an insane 1-2 combo. I think Jade's ceiling is CB1 for whoever drafts him. I think his floor is a high-end nickel. I think coming in, he was late round 1 value, but after that, 4.39, like I said, he was already the best defensive back in the country. I late first round, but I think he's climbing boards fast. So a big weekend at Indy for the defensive back from Texas. Another winner along the offensive line. And I'm not going to say I told you so, but I feel I was in on this guy pretty early. And if you go back to, I think, episode 4, when I talked about the offensive lineman, this guy stood out to me then. And now he's starting to stand out to the rest of the country after his performance. Armand Membu from Missouri, 6'4", 332 pounds, 33.5-inch arms. And we'll get to that. At 332 pounds, a 40-yard dash in 4.91 seconds. I challenge any of you watching to go run a 40 in 4.91. I'm just saying, like, we talk about the 4.2s and the 4.3s and the 4.4s. 4.91, average human being, is fast. I know a lot of high school boys, in shape athletes, who would kill to run 4.91. And this guy did it at 332 pounds. 10-yard split in 1.74, incredible for 332 pounds. Vertical jump of 34 inches, 332 pounds. Broad jump just shy of 10 feet at 9 feet 7 inches at 332 pounds. Did 31 reps of 225, shows that he has an 82-inch wingspan. It's the arms. For offensive tackle, what they say in the NFL is you want 34-inch arms for an offensive tackle. He came in at 33.5. And if you recall, when I talked about him a few weeks ago, I said that this is tackle body, but someone may end up kicking him inside. And that may end up being the thing that may ultimately knock him down potentially. It's the Robert Gallery rule. And I think I'm going back to 2002. Robert Gallery was the top offensive tackle on the board, came out of Iowa. Second overall pick. He was the best tackle. Nobody questioned it. And then he got to the league and tried to play tackle with his 31-inch arms, and he was terrible. And he went down as a bust, and probably everybody here will remember him as a bust. He got traded late in his career. I want to say the Eagles, whoever he went to, finally ended up moving him inside to guard, and he played well. Like, that's just kind of, if you're a good tackle in college, but you don't have the physical measurables to play tackle in the NFL, you're probably a guard. And Membu is in that territory. Is he a tackle? Is he a guard? 4'9", 140, elite for 330 plus. Paired it with a 34-inch vertical, 99th percentile RAS. On tape, he's a mauler. Finishes blocks. I bolded the phrase nasty intent. He drives defenders into the dirt. This is a guy who, as a coach, you say you play through the whistle. This is a play through the whistle kind of guy. Explosive off the snap, fluid in pass protection, anchors well against power. The length's not elite. That'll be the issue. Teams may slide him to guard, thus value him less. But the combine dominance backs the buzz. Fastest 40 for a 6'4", 330-pound lineman since 2003 per NFL research. All right, so that's not nothing. We're talking over 20 years. Not exactly a polished technician. He can overset, has a tendency to lunge, but the toolbox is high end. Run blocking. He's tenacious. The movement skills mirror Trent Williams. The top 10 juice, I think, is real. His stock's soaring. Jim Cramer, bye. Offensive tackle 1 is in play, and the debate with Will Campbell is brewing. You're going to start hearing that, I believe. I think he's the first offensive lineman off the board. I'm pounding the table for this guy. Violent, athletic, has a mean streak. I want 5 of those guys on my offensive line. Just with those three markers. Violent, athletic, mean. Give me that. Membo, big winner at the combine. You're going to hear his name more and more. Let's see. I'm looking at the next couple of guys here. I jumped to a position. I did a running back breakdown a couple of weeks ago. I don't think my rankings have changed much, although I will say my Ollie Gordon 461. I didn't even include him in my losers list. I was too upset. But a couple of guys who I said I liked really showed out, and I included them among my winners. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Quinshon Judkins, 6 foot, 221 pounds, officially. Ran the 40 a little bit faster than we all anticipated. 4.48, under 4.5, legit running back 1 speed, 10-yard split of 1.51. It's fast. Vertical jump of 38.5, broad jumped 11 feet. Like I said, 221 pounds. You saw him in the spandex, chiseled every down back, freaky athletic profile. He popped that 4.48. Not elite burner speed, but better than expected for his size. Paired with that class-leading 11-foot broad jump and that 38.5-inch vert, which tied him for 4th among running backs. That's top-shelf explosion, folks. On tape, you see power runner with a little bit of juice. He went for 1,060 yards and 14 touchdowns last year in that split Ohio State backfield. Travion Henderson did not make the winners list. He did okay, but Judkins was the real winner out of that Ohio State backfield last year. I loved Judkins at Ole Miss. I loved his Ole Miss days. It was disappointing to me to see that he went to Ohio State last year, so I couldn't root for him. But something that I heard someone else say, and it makes sense, and it made me smile. Ohio State was willing to spend as much money as it took to go out and get any running back in the country that they wanted, and they went out and paid for Quinshon Judkins. What does that tell you? Right? Going back to the Ole Miss days, he showed that he can carry the mail. 2 bell cow seasons as a highly productive feature back before going to Ohio State. Silky pass catcher, natural hands, creative as a route runner. Saw some head fakes on the Texas route, a little extra sauce on some of those choice paths. But the run game is his bread and butter now. Able to stack blocks, shed tacklers, finishes with authority. He's definitely a power guy, high motor guy, 3 down potential, definitely a running back 1 ceiling in the NFL. I think the documented measurables now with that tape cement him at RB3. Why not RB2? Well, the next winner on our list, Omarion Hampton. Also, and I double-checked this so I didn't just copy-paste, also checked in at 6 foot, 221 pounds. His 40, 4.46, 10-yard split of 1.54, vertical jump of 38 inches, and a broad jump of 10.10. Another guy, chiseled, rocked up frame, rare measurables, 4.46, 38-inch vert. Second best among running backs with that 10-foot, 10-inch broad jump, second to Quinshon Judkins. But the explosion from Hampton pops off the tape. Put up 18 bench press reps that show his functional strength. At North Carolina, he piled up 1,726 yards from scrimmage as a sophomore. in 2023. And then last year, 2,033 scrimmage yards post Drake May. So like the first round quarterback's gone. What are they going to do? They're going to go to the most talented guy on the roster. Defenses know that, and he got better. Here's a guy with 3-down skill set, power to churn through contact. You talk about speed to hit the edge, enough wiggle to make defenders miss in space. Another guy that we talk about with vision and patience that are solid. Not a pure home run hitter like Ashton Jeanty, which Genty's a freak. He's RB1. Everybody knows it. Among the top running backs, though, I think Hampton's contact balance stands out. He's a tackle breaker and a guy who finishes runs. The pass protection needs a little bit of work. Has the frame to develop that. RB1 kind of guy in the future. High motor guy. Plays with that juice. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If it weren't for Jeanty, Hampton would be the guy getting all the hype as RB1. It's wild to me how unknown he still feels at this point in the process. I can see him as a first-round back. I believe that. We talked a couple of weeks ago about the devaluing of the running back position. I can still see a world in which Omarion Hampton goes first round. If not, I think he's one of those guys that teams make a move for at the top of day 2. There's only one round on day 1, and then there's like 22 hours between pick 32 and pick 33. And there's always movement around 32, 33, or 33, 34, 35. Teams going, oh, he's still there? We didn't expect him to still be there. Oh, he's still there? We gotta move from 40 up to 34 and take one of those guys that shouldn't have made it out of day 1. I think Omarion Hampton would be one of those guys. But like I said, running back is coming back. It's kind of in vogue at this point. What goes around comes around in the NFL. And I think the running game is coming back around. Omarion Hampton is a first-round talent. He had a great day. Big winner at the Combine. It's a name to remember. Steelers fans remember. Omarion Hampton. I don't think you're getting Jeanty, but Hampton would be a nice pickup. Combine winners. I've got 2 left before we go to the losers. And this guy, again, if it weren't for Emmanwori, this guy might be the biggest winner. We talked about the 40 being the main event of the Combine, the thing that everyone pays attention to. And this year's 40-yard dash winner was Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky. A lot of zone coverage tape, 5'11" and change, 183 pounds, not a great tackler, but when this guy turns and runs, and he showed it last week, 40-yard dash, fastest the Combine this year, 4.28 seconds, 10-yard split of 1.5. Broad jump 10.9, vertical jump just shy of 40 at 39.5. Primarily a zone guy, but has man traits. Okay. Didn't watch any of them before this. And then he pops the 4.28, and I did the same thing that everybody else in America did. I went to YouTube, I typed in Maxwell Hairston, and just show me some tape. And the tape shows what the workout numbers said that they would show. Lightning quick, in and out of breaks. That show up on tape. DCs can be multiple in their coverage with a guy like him. Super ball hawk. 2 forced fumbles. Tied the school record with 3 pick sixes last year. And 4.28. Best at the Combine. Mad Max. Mad Max is what everybody's calling him. Moved up draft boards, I would say, more than any other player at the Combine. Seeing that time confirms so much from the tape. Super smooth hips. A little small, but room to grow. Hitting that 180 plus threshold was big. But that turn and run, you can't buy it. I see him as a slot corner, a ball magnet, but with that speed and that turn defense into offense ability, would not surprise me one iota to see this guy go first round. Top 50 for sure. But this is one of the guys that coming out of the Combine, this is what we watch it for. These are the guys that get you fired up to see. Because it's kind of like, without the Combine, he's a day 2 top 100 pick because of, like I said, he's a slot guy. He's not an outside, matchup to the number 1 receiver guy. He creates turnovers. He's okay, but he's a little small. you see the 4.28, and then you go back and watch the tape again, and you just go, that's legit speed. Can he return punts? Can he return kicks? What else can he do? But everything tested like through the roof. And I just think, once again, in a league full of freaks, you just want the freakiest of the freaks on your team. And I can see this as a guy that, once again, we talked about shuffling at the beginning of the second round. This might be a guy that you see some shuffling at the end of the first round for teams with a little extra draft capital to say, well, we need to add a little bit of speed to the back end. Let's add a 4.28 guy to the defensive side of the ball. I like him. Mad Max. Remember that. 4.28 Mad Max. All right. Final winner before we get to the losers. Another one of my guys, and these are, I hate to pound the table with the same guys each and every week, but I feel like that's kind of my lane. You can go anywhere for draft coverage. I want to give you some perspective on guys who I think are going to be players. And when they test well, and when it kind of shows up, like kind of cements, like, yeah, that's what I saw. I'm glad other people are seeing that now too. I like to spout off a little bit. So my last winner at the defensive tackle position, talked about the defensive tackle class last week. Wow. This guy stood out. Darius Alexander from Toledo. He's a rocket in more than one sense. Measured at 6'4", 305 pounds, 34-inch arms, all requisite, all perfect. 40-yard dash in 4.95 seconds, flying for 300 pounds. 10-yard split of 172. Vertical jump 31.5. Broad jump 9.3. He's what we call a traits-based riser, okay? At the combine, that 40 was fifth among interior defensive linemen. 1.72 in the 10-yard split. That is rare burst for a guy his size. Add that 31.5 in the vert, 28 bench reps. His RAS was 6th overall. Freaky athlete. Showed everyone at the Senior Bowl those violent hands, flexible lower half, got a nasty rip move, dominated offensive line reps, then flashed in the game, had a tackle for loss, had a handful of pressures. So it shows up on tape, matched it in the workout. The film shows a high motor run stopper, stacks and sheds with ease, chases plays sideline to sideline. Pass rush upside is there, but he's raw. The pad level, block shedding occasionally, need polish, but the versatility pops. 5 tech, 3 tech, can play him at a 1. They had him even drop into coverage at Toledo. I think the biggest knock at him, or of him at this point, he's 25 years old. So the ceiling is tempered, but the floor, I think, is still incredibly high. Not a first-round guy. Maybe slips into the second round, but I don't think he gets out of day 2 before being picked. Top 75, I will say. So that's it for my list of winners. We're 40 minutes into this thing. I got a list of losers. I don't try to poo-poo too many guys, but there were that lost some stock. I don't have as many losers as I had winners, but I wanted to go over a few that. And let me preface this: if you have a bad combine, it's not the end of the world. With the pro days now, so they basically, the combine is everybody goes to one spot and all the teams go to that spot, and we're going to do all the drills at the same time, and everybody's measured against each other on the same set of equipment with the same laser timing setup with the same, everything. You're eating the same breakfast. You're sleeping in the same beds. You're getting the same buffet lunch, right? So they try to make it as consistent as possible. When you go to the pro days, you have, grad assistants, guys that you did homework with, time in your 40. So pro days are important. You can improve numbers. They are important to teams. The teams that show up to them kind of show their hand a little bit. If you see a bunch of teams going to Texas A&M, they're there for Shamar Stewart, right? If you don't see a whole lot of teams, if you only see 3 teams at the Toledo Pro Day, you can tell that those 3 teams are going to look at Darius Alexander. Does that make sense? So you can make up at the Pro Day if you had a bad combine. But that said, the combine numbers don't go away. So here are the guys who I think need to make up a little bit at their pro day, and didn't exactly perform to what we thought they maybe should or could have at the combine. And I think it makes sense to start this list, this losers list, with the guy who I think lost the most. And I'm going to start with Malachi Starks. And I'll preface this by saying he's still a first round pick. Okay, I don't question him getting out of the first round. And I think a lot of the fact that he's on the losers list is because of the performance of another guy, Nick Emmanwori, who had the best combine of a safety ever. So naturally, Malachi's average showing is going to drop him a little bit, just sort of on a comparative basis. And that's how this works. That's the business. He was good in his own right, but not as good as the other guy. That's it, right? Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia. The going into it, safety one, right? Measured in at 6'1", 197 pounds. So he's 23, 24 pounds lighter than Emmanwori. Ran the 40 in 4.5 seconds. Again, not slow, but not 4.38. 10-yard split of 151. That was good. Vertical jump 33. Not bad. But again, you look at Emmanwori, his vertical was 43. So you look at it like that's a 10-inch difference. And Starks did not broad jump. Came into the combine as, we'll say, the consensus safety one. Versatile, SEC playmaker, first-round hype. On-field drills still showed the twitch. They showed the fluid hips. They showed the top-end speed, 23.5 miles an hour in that 40. That's fifth among safety. So he's still up there. But the measurables are what tanked him. 4.50 in the 40, 10th at the position. 33-inch vert, tied for third worst. Those don't scream elite. Those scream capable, but not top end. I mentioned Emmanwori. He just outshined him. Starks 151 in the 10-yard split, which is third. Still showed that burst, so the acceleration is still there. The ball skills and the instincts still pop on tape. And like I said, this is one of the evaluations that you get into that you don't like the numbers, but you still have to trust the tape. The tape is still incredibly good. He still shows high football IQ. He still shows range in the deep third. The only thing now is that you think the athletic ceiling looks capped, right? Lighter frame at 197, maybe some durability flags for box work especially. Tackling is there, willing but not dominant. Like I said, he's still a day one free safety. The do everything billing took a bit of a hit. As I mentioned here, the pro day is his shot to reclaim that safety one buzz. The stock is steady. He's not sinking too much, but I think the top 15 chatter is cooling. And I have here as in parentheses, is he legitimately falling or are we overthinking it? And I think that's a legitimate question. Every year you see not great combine, drop his draft stock, goes a little bit lower than maybe what he deserves to go. Then you get to the regular season, and today he is who we thought he was. So maybe don't overthink it too much, but not a great day for Malachi Starks. Another guy with not a great day. Sorry, Oregon fans. Tez Johnson, 5'10", 154 pounds. Lightest player measured at the combine since 1999. Some of you watching weren't even born then. 154. Dude, I'm 154. I would get killed in the NFL. 40-yard dash of 4.51 seconds. That's not good, especially for 154. 10-yard split of 153. Good 0-60. Vertical jump of 37 inches. That's great. Broad jump 10'11". It's great. But the problem, 4.51 second 40-yard dash ranks in the 51st percentile among wide receivers, which does little to ease concerns about that size-speed combination. If you're going to be 154 pounds, you've got to be just otherworldly fast. The tape shows an elite route runner, exceptional burst, change of direction, and actually the strong results in the agility drills and the jumps showcase that athletic potential. I haven't talked much about the 3-cone drill, but Tez Johnson's 6.65 second 3-cone was the fastest at the combine. So he's still an incredible athlete. The next gen stats highlighted his game speed. In the deep ball drill, he hit 22.17 miles per hour on that go route. That was the fastest of any wideout at the combine. I mentioned the 1.53 second 10-yard split. Still got that elite quickness. But the diminutive size is going to pose a significant challenge for Tez. I think at this point, he's a late round flyer. And where he's going to go is going to be really limited. If I had to guess, his brother is Bo Nix. Sean Payton is a guy who likes to create roles for specific guys. I can see him ending up as a Denver Bronco, but I don't see anyone, including the Broncos, really trading anything of an asset to go up and get Tez. 4.51. That's it. We talked about the 40 last week. It can make guys, Maxwell Harrison, and it can break guys, Tez Johnson. So he was one of my losers. I got a couple left here, and this one hurts. Combine loser, Harold Fannin Jr., my dude, tight end from Bowling Green, measured in at 6'3", 241, 40-yard dash in 4.71. 10-yard split of 1.56. I love it. Vertical jump of 34 at 241 pounds. Very good. Broad jump, 9 feet, 10 inches. Not bad. 4.71 in the 40. That hurt. Big fan. Fannin will enter the NFL as a true junior. So as a young prospect, just turned 21. Gaudy FBS records. 117 catches, 1,500 yards in 2024. Literally the best tight end season in NCAA history. The tape pops with sticky hands, high point ability, crafty short area worker. He's got some wiggle. The 3-cone drill looked good. 6.97, that was second. 4.39 in the shuttle, that was third. That backs up that athletic profile that we saw on tape. The instincts, he shined, whether he was in line or flexed out. He ate on those back shoulder fades, and that 10-yard split of 1.56 seconds was second among tight ends. But the combine, as it's supposed to do, exposed some cracks. And we're talking about the 4.71 and the 40, the 34-inch vert. I'd like to see that a little bit higher, especially for a guy who's coming from Bowling Green. It may show that he lacks the juice to consistently stretch the seam in the NFL. Broad jump at 9.10, stiff hips for his body. The gauntlet back and forth. He showed some drift. You want to stay on that line. He was a little wobbly. At 241, he's a little on the light side for a true Y tight end. The run blocking is a little inconsistent. The sled work at Indy was, quite frankly, ugly. But still, 22 reps on the bench. That was fourth. Contact, appetite, they hinted upside. He's not afraid of anyone or anything, and you love that in a player. And as I said, very, very young, very, very raw. The pro day is going to be critical to maintain that stock. I still think he goes day 2. I'm hearing a lot of Isaiah Likely comps. Not terrible. And I like to remind you that it only takes one team who buys the film over the measurables. I'll put it this way. I still think I'm going to end up with Harold Fannin Jr. on my Madden team. Does that make sense? I think that's the best pound the table I can give for a guy. All right. So don't count him out yet, but a loser at the combine. That 4.71, it's disappointing. In a really good tight end class, I was hoping that would be in the 4.6 range. Really confirm what we saw, and you'd have a really, he could have been one of the guys who could have had some first round hype coming out. 4.71 ain't going to do it. Another guy on my losers list, and this is a guy that everybody's talking about, and I put him on this list so I could set it up to say one thing and then finish with another. So Will Howard, quarterback from Ohio State, didn't run the 40, measured at 6'4", 236 pounds, vertical jump of 31.5 inches, broad jump 9.4. Big frame, prototypical NFL QB frame, 236 built, 236 pounds. Ex-K-State transfer, turned Ohio State national champ. Entered the combine with QB5 buzz off that national MVP run. Looked great in the playoffs. He got better as the season went along. Chip Kelly really did a great job with him. Finished the season with over 4,000 pass yards, 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. But at the combine, the tape to tools gap showed up. He's got a live arm, but the accuracy absolutely cratered at Indy. The intermediate to deep balls were erratic at best. He missed receivers in stride. He sprayed throws high and wide all afternoon long on Saturday. You go back to last season, his 3.3% turnover-worthy play rate, which was tops of the quarterbacks in this class, and that's not good to be a top in that statistic. Those doubts didn't get any quieter. We saw pocket presence, solid, maybe not elite. He'll stand in and deliver. Footwork gets sloppy under pressure. The athleticism pops, though, for a guy his size. Late night drop back hustle in a parking lot screams QB grinder, but the combine exposed those mechanical flaws. Short area velocities there. Can't seem to layer throws, and that's going to be an issue at the next level. High football IQ. He's got enough juice to threaten as a runner. And I say all that to say this. Quarterbacks are always overvalued. So I think the day 2 projection holds. QB5, QB6, once again, not a great combine, but, all right, he's not going to make it to round 6 or 7. This is not going to be Brock Purdy where, like, you get him as Mr. Irrelevant. He's not going to be around that long. Is he a top 100 player? No. But does he go in the top 100 based on some of the film and virtue of the fact that he's a quarterback? Yeah, I think so. I know his pro day with his receivers is make or break. This is all you heard about. And even Shedeur Sanders came to his defense. It's like, well, tough to throw against guys you're not used to throwing to. Okay, fair. You're not wrong. So everybody else was doing it. Why did they look okay? And Will Howard didn't. So I think he's got to look incredible at his pro day. So Will Howard, a loser from the combine. Will it affect the draft stock? Maybe a little bit. Tyler Shuck probably moved past him. I can tell you that much. Will he fall out of the 3rd round? I don't think so. We'll see. Final loser on this longest podcast I've done to this point. Thank you for sticking around. I really, really appreciate you. I really, really love doing this. If there's anybody that you want me to get into, please let me know at some point. But the last on my list for losers of this combine fanatics like me, like you, if you're still listening, guys that didn't work out. The list keeps getting longer and longer every year. And I had this discussion with a couple of different people last week, friends who I was texting, people I went to dinner with some of my wife's friends, and I just talked this dude's ear off all night long. He asked one draft question, and then I just took off. Guys that didn't work out that I would have loved to see work out. I have a list here, and I want to read you names of guys that we didn't even get to see numbers for. Abdul Carter, Ashton Genty, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Will Campbell, Walter Nolan, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, Elijah Arroyo, Mike Green, Jalen Walker, Michael Williams, Ted McMillan, and Mika Egbuka. And there's a bunch more that I'm missing. Those are just first-round potential guys who didn't run, didn't do anything. They showed up for height, weight, and they did interviews, but they did no on-field testing whatsoever. They gave them some spandex. They didn't even put them on. All right. So we got to wait for pro days on those guys. Abdul Carter came in, allegedly was prepared to work out, but had a stress reaction. That's the first time I've heard this. Not a stress fracture, a stress reaction in his foot. So his representation said that he should not participate, but he plans to participate at Penn State's Pro Day, which I think is March 21st. You can check me on that one. A lot of guys that didn't show up. People like me were disappointed that some of this class's best athletes didn't put on a show. Give us some eye-popping numbers to get some clarity on the top of the order of this draft. But Their absence allowed for a bunch of other guys to show out. So, like, I love that. Honestly, would we be talking about Maxwell Harrison, Darian Porter, Omarion Hampton as much if we were busy spending time dissecting one of those top guys' days instead? It's a fair question, I think. So I think us as fans were maybe, I don't want to say the biggest losers, but like could have been a lot better. All right. I've taken enough of your time. That'll wrap up the deep dive today on the winners and losers of the 2025 NFL Combine. Before I sign off, I do want to hear from you. Drop a comment, shoot me an email, slide into the DMs. What performances shocked you? Who do you think helped or hurt their stock that I didn't mention? I want the hot takes. I want the deep cuts. I want the insights that go beyond the stopwatch. Next week, I'm bringing in a special guest to help me out with our first mock draft special. We're going to pick all 32 teams, I think. We're not going to tip each other off ahead of time, so you'll get a real, honest, what do we do now? Where do we go from here reaction as we make those selections. So make sure you're subscribed to the Draft Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your football fix. And hey, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, take a moment to leave a review. It means the world to me, helps other draft junkies find the show. That's all for today, folks. Thanks again for tuning into the Draft Podcast. I'm Paul Adamczak, and I'll see y'all Monday morning on the next flagship City Sports Talk at 9 a.m. on 105.9 FM and TalkTheory.com. That's it. I'm out.